sunrise. Just open up your door to breathe in the sunshine. Sing with us on the porch.
Today is October 17th, 2015. Joining us on the porch is Denise Knight.
The best place for family. What are you waiting for? Where friendships run deeper. Come join us on the porch. So glad you're on the porch.
Hey kids, that's right, it's Saturday. And you're here for another wild adventure with On the Porch Radio Hour. And we have a very special guest today. Not only is she special because of the things that she does, or even because of her person. She's just special all the time, but very special to me because I originally met Denise back home in Tonkahogen. She had heard me tell a story once about Kokopelli and how he would travel. The story was that he would travel from village to village and playing his pipe, and he would bring the coming of spring, and there was fertility and all of these wonderful things, but there was music and there were stories and there was news. And so Denise decided she was going to hop from pseudo village to pseudo village, and she found all of these French Indian villages and towns and communities where she could go and bring her flute and sing and bring news and bring spring. And she ended up in Tonkahogen, and I was there hanging out with the fam doing some work, and I came across Denise as she was busking on a street corner down near the hardware, and the hardware owner Jim was out there playing and hanging out, and there was Denise playing her flute. So anyway, I walked up and introduced myself, thinking that, being a young, attractive, single, young man, that maybe I could hang out with this flautist. And then she explained to me that I was way too young and immature for her. What happened, though, was this wonderful friendship. And like so many other things that have happened to me in Tonkahogen, we kind of parted ways and were then reunited and reconnected here in Oswego at an open mic. And she was very happy to see me, and I was very happy to see her, and she thought it was neat that I was telling stories of Tonkahogen, and she wanted me to tell stories about when she was there, and I told her she had to tell them herself. But she still agreed to come onto the show, which I'm pretty happy about, and we'll hear more about our adventures later, and maybe we can talk about that giant milkshake that we shared at the corner store where you were playing your flute. That was pretty fun. It was neat because they were able to make it so that half of it was chocolate and the other half was vanilla, and so we got to share the milkshake, all in one glass. It was pretty neat. It was like Lady and the Tramp, but there was no lady or a tramp there, and there was no spaghetti either, but there was a milkshake, and it was divided into chocolate and vanilla. It was very nice. And how they did it was they just kind of, their soft serve ice cream machine never really froze the ice cream, so I said I wanted we wanted a chocolate and vanilla milkshake, and I said put it all in one glass, and so they did, and so we got the swirl, the chocolate vanilla swirl, and we had to walk around the table in spirals because I was drinking the vanilla and she was drinking the chocolate, and I didn't want any of hers and she didn't want any of mine, so we had to walk in circles and follow the swirl down to the bottom of the glass. It was a lot of fun. With the straws, it was pretty neat. It was also how the crazy straw was invented. We were there for that because when we were done, we had one big twisty straw, and there were some kids, and they thought that was cool. So anyway, that's enough about me. Well, it's enough about Denise. We'll hear more about me later. For now, though, Denise, you're on the porch. sponsor. From the makers of Broken Glass comes a new product that is taking industrial processors by storm. Powdered glass is back and better than ever. Once regarded as the great secret ingredient in China porcelain in the 1700s. But in modern times, alone or mixed with clays, powdered glass returns a beautiful product. Whether you are buying fine glass or porcelain products, or creating them yourself, look to powdered glass for all of your needs. Remember, it's not powdered glass unless it says powdered glass. Powdered glass from Broken Glass Incorporated. So back from my time in Tonkahogen when I first met Denise, it's been a long time. So Denise, what have you been doing since we last saw each other?
For the better part of my adult life, I was an IT person. Computers.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, see, I wouldn't have known that.
Yeah, a nerd. But I got my musical start in 4th grade when my parents bought an upright piano and brought it into the house.
Nice.
And fell in love with it. And then they got me a beautiful concert piano for my 13th birthday. And just kept playing. Took lessons from, see if anybody out there remembers, Minnie Maxine Hubbard, who gave piano lessons in the basement of Gross Music Shop, which used to be on West 2nd Street in Oswego.
No kidding.
Yeah, so we could play, we always had an etude, a study, a classical piece, and then we could go up into the music shop and pick out a pop piece.
Nice.
Yeah. And so we were well-rounded.
That is cool.
And she probably got a kickback from the Grosses upstairs.
Right.
But anyway, she was a magnificent lady. So when I went away to school, I didn't have a keyboard, and I rented a flute and took lessons for a little bit from one of the music majors at Crane, and tortured my roommate and everybody else in the vicinity, and then just started playing that.
That's awesome.
I love it.
So you didn't pick up a flute until you were in college?
Mm-hmm.
Man.
My senior year.
Your senior year of college?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, because I was afraid I was going to get kicked out of the practice rooms at Crane. Came close a couple times.
That's awesome. So you attended Crane?
No.
No.
I attended Potsdam.
Okay.
And snuck into the practice rooms
nice.
at Crane.
Yes, of course.
I can say that now that I've already got the paper.
That's right.
Yeah. And then musically, I started playing with at St. Joseph's Church, and then with the Newman Center, and made friends doing that. And some friends and I got together and did a CD, which was a really remarkable experience.
Yeah.
And played around, and just sharing that. Right now, I play a lot in senior citizen housing for elderly, and that's a pretty good gig. They're
that's
a wonderful
fun
audience.
Gig. Yeah. That's a really fun time.
That's what I do.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna back up a little bit just because I'm curious. How did you get started in IT stuff?
I love math.
Really?
And I started taking some computer science courses, and really like that because it's like learning another language.
Yeah.
And went forward with that, math and computer science, and my first job was at the nuclear plant programming their computers, their process monitor, their process control computers, and security computers, and then I taught for a little while and teched for a little while, and now I work at the Newman Center at the college.
Cool.
So everything brings you to where you end up.
That's right.
And you share what you got.
That's awesome. It sounds like you've had a fun journey.
And 4 beautiful children and a husband that's great and a grandchild.
Come on. Yeah, see.
Life's
I wouldn't have
good.
guessed that either.
Yeah, well.
Good for you. That's cool. So now I'm going to, so I like to jump around a touch. I heard everything you were just saying. I did.
That's good.
But I'm a little stuck on this, like you didn't pick up the flute until your senior year of college. Did you take any classes? Was it all self-taught?
There was a flute major from Crane that it was a quarter course. So how many weeks is that? 4 weeks? 8 weeks? 7? somewhere like that.
Somewhere between 4 and 8. Yeah.
Greater than 1, less than 14.
Mm-hmm.
And Bridget was her name. She was a real drill sergeant. She came to my room once a week and gave me lessons, and mostly it was on breathing technique and embouchure, because I never had to breathe and play something at the same time to make it work.
Right.
Well, not consciously breathe.
Mm-hmm.
So that was interesting. She made me lay on my back with a book on my stomach and see where it was coming from, and that's how I learned the fingering, and it's a C instrument, so I still think of the piano whenever I'm looking at music. So.
Sure.
Yeah.
Wow. That's cool. And my experience with you playing the flute is not what I heard you doing when I came in earlier and you were practicing with Gina. So I'm really looking forward to hearing all of that. My experience with you playing the flute is you backing people up at concerts and at open mics and stuff. And that's always fascinated me to watch you step up and somebody say, oh, I asked Denise to come up and play with me, and then they turn to you and tell you what key they're playing in, and you just start cranking away, jamming on a flute, which is really neat. That's outside of my paradigm.
I can't do that on the piano.
Really? Even though it's a C instrument?
Well, we got an article from a friend of ours who's a classic pianist, and she forwarded it. She didn't write it, but it was the science of improv and being able to turn off your critical mind and being classically trained on the keyboard. I can't turn that off.
Yeah, sure.
But I think the reason I can do that with the flute is because I was young and foolish when I learned it, and
me too. Yeah.
So it just all came.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I love doing that.
That's really neat.
And I love playing, and I love being back up. I'm happy being back there.
Yeah. You deserve the spotlight, though. Do you think a flute would work in a jug band?
Oh yeah, it can work anywhere.
See? Spotlight.
Yeah. It worked with Trailer of Love, Mark Warner's song.
Did
so
you
it
really?
Can work anywhere.
That's a classic.
Yeah.
I was sad that when he was on the show he didn't play it. Did he?
Yeah.
I don't think he did. I'm going to look it up because I might be telling my listeners something wrong. But hey, listeners, we're going to take a break from Denise for just a second, and I'm going to tell you to check out the Mark Warner piece that she was just talking about, and then imagine her playing the flute behind that if he recorded that on the show, which I don't remember. And I don't remember because we've recorded so many shows. We're becoming a big deal. And so, I remember Mark was on the show, but I don't remember the songs he played. Sorry, Mark. Now back to our regularly scheduled program. Denise, what else do you play?
Ukulele. A friend of mine gave me a ukulele, which I've really been loving because I can play it quietly and not disturb anybody else in the house. And the melodica.
I have no idea what that is.
It's like a woodwind, but it's a keyboard like a piano.
Oh, I do know what that is.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like an
accordion.
accordion. Yeah.
I've never heard it called a melodica before. That's neat.
Yeah. I got that in college when I was a freshman in college.
Really? That's cool. Do I remember you playing the tambourine once before?
No.
No?
Rhythm instruments and I are not good unless it's a comedy or something.
Huh. I must have been in a different mental space because I feel like I have this really strong image of you like banging a baton, or not a baton, but
tried the egg.
A tambourine off your hip. Not the egg either.
I tried it, but just wasn't. It's not my strength.
Huh.
Yeah.
Cowbell?
Oh well, that's genetic, maybe.
Ah. There you go. Dinner bell?
Yeah.
All right. Good. She can play the dinner bell. Nice. So real quick, or real long, however you want to explain it. What was the song you just played?
That was Sonatina in C major by Muzio Clementi. And that's one of the studies that I did with Minnie Maxine Hubbard.
Come on,
back
Minnie.
in the day.
Man, I have to meet this woman.
Oh.
Might be too late, huh? That's all right. Maybe she has an offspring or something that I could. other minis? Minis?
No mini minis.
No mini minis? That's all right. Any maxes? Any mini maxes? Anyway, I do want to point out for our listeners, because it's a radio show, that you had to look to the floor to remember the name of that piece, because the music book like exploded at the end of your song and everything ended up on the floor, and you just looked down to the floor to see what the title of that song was. I thought that was fun. Okay, so what are you gonna play? Are you gonna play something for us now? No? We're gonna take a break. What the heck? All right, so Denise, if people want to come hear you play, which they do, because I'm going to tell them to, where should they do that?
I play Tuesday nights. I play open mics down at Old City Hall in Oswego. And at the Route 481 strip of elderly housing.
Nice.
Bishop Commons, St. Francis, St. Luke's. The Newman Center, Sunday services, and the Oswego Music Hall.
Yeah.
When they have their Friday night open mics.
Nice. Hey, do you think some Friday night you would play the flute behind a story?
Wow. Yeah.
That would be fun.
It'd be like interpretive playing.
Yeah. That would be.
Like the Grecian urn dance.
That's right. That's right. I talked Gina into doing that one time with her guitar. No, not the flute. The guitar. She played behind me with the guitar. That was neat. No, it was the fiddle. Yeah, she played behind me with the fiddle. Because I was like, wait a minute, no, you didn't make that sound with the guitar. But I remember that. So anyway, yeah, that would be fun. Someday I'm going to have a whole band behind me. And I'm going to have a jug band with a flute.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
I
guess no. Yeah. Mess of Mama's Barbecue. Could we play that with the flute?
We'll try anything.
Yeah. Yes. I like your spirit. All right. Well, I guess we're going to take a break, and then I'm probably going to ask you more questions later after our break. But thanks so much for being on the show, Denise.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and don't be surprised if I bring a whole tsunami of people into the Newman Center.
Okay.
Because we want to hear you play.
That.
Yeah, that would be fun. Awesome. Denise, you're wonderful. Thanks for being on the porch. Thank you. Side note, the last name Knight is not fair because she is a bright and sunny woman. You're listening to On the Porch Radio Hour. We'll be back in a moment.
This is what's happening in Central New York. The Oswego Music Hall offers an open mic hosted by John Cadley on Friday, October 23rd, and also presents a concert with the Delaney Brothers on Saturday, October 24th. Visit oswegomusichall.org for more information. Little Shop of Horrors opens at the CNY Playhouse this weekend and runs through October 31st. Visit cnyplayhouse.com for more information. The Oswego Players presents Sex Please We're 60. Runs this weekend only. Visit oswegoplayers.org for more information. 13th Hour Rising Haunted Hayride is located just north of Baldwinsville on 200 wooded acres and is Central New York's only professional haunted hayride. For more information, visit 13thhourrising.com. Friends of Fort Ontario and CNY Ghost Hunters are teaming up to offer ghost tours at the fort this weekend only. Call 315-343-4711 for more information. SUNY Oswego hosts a gender discussion group titled What Does the F Word Feminist Mean to You? On October 23rd at 3 p.m. This is an informal discussion group where students, faculty, staff, and anyone interested in talking about issues related to gender can get together in an informal setting, share food, and share ideas. For more information, call 315-312-3234. The CNY Art Center has upcoming classes in cake decorating and is currently hosting Hallows Eve, an art exhibit celebrating the spirit of Halloween. The cast of Oliver is currently rehearsing and will take the stage at CNY Art Center during the first 2 weekends in November. Tickets are on sale now. The Writers' Cafe meets the last Sunday of the month with the next session, October 25th at 6 p.m. Visit cnyartcenter.com for more information. The Red Room Sessions at the Wooden Apple Farmstead are a time for songwriters, musicians, and anyone else who wants to build their musical skill and knowledge to get together. We share songs we are working on, bounce musical ideas off each other, and we usually have time to just play a little music. This is a supportive environment where all levels of songwriting and musical experience are welcome. The next session is October 25th at 6 p.m. For more information, visit Wooden Apple Farmstead on Facebook or call 315-591-0711.
Denise and Gina are going to get up on stage now, and they're going to play a few pieces, right?
Yeah, that's the plan.
Awesome. Are they both going to be a fiddle or violin and flute collaboration?
You're going to mix it up.
We are going to mix it up. We've got 3 songs.
Oh, good.
And since we both do several different kinds of things, we decided that we would, add guitar and add singing and
Do it all.
Why not?
I like it. Mm-hmm. Awesome. So what's the first piece you're going to play then?
You introduce it.
It's a song written for a PBS series, The Civil War. It's called Ashokan Farewell, and I hope I pronounced that correctly. And it's written by Jay Unger, who coincidentally has been a performer on the national stage at the Oswego Music Hall.
Oh, cool.
And is also from Oswego County.
Yeah.
Come on. Awesome. Thanks.
Our next song is called Simple Gifts, a traditional tune, and just a beautiful song. Gift to be free, it's a gift to come down where we ought to be. And when we find ourselves in the place just right, we'll be in the valley of love and delight. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend, we will not be ashamed. To turn will be our delight, till turning and turning we turn round right. This is one of my most favorite songs in the whole wide world from one of my most favorite artists, Van Morrison. It's Moondance.
And before we start playing, one of the reasons we chose this song is because we both got to be backup musicians for another friend of ours, Jim Schaefer, on his album. And so we were messing around waiting for stuff to start, and so we started going back and forth on the violin and flute with Moondance, and so we decided we should play it here.
Just happened.
Hey, that sounded great.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank
It
you.
was fun. Thank you, Gina.
Yeah, so at what point are we going to get you at the farm more often?
I know where you are.
Yeah, you do. You do. We now know where you are, too. It would be cool to have you here. Maybe we could swindle you into being a judge or something next year for the thingamajigger, for the festival, for the songwriter contest.
That songwriter contest was wonderful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought that went
was
really
wonderful.
well. That was very cool. So anyway, thanks so much for being on the show, Denise, and I hope that you get to continue playing and doing the cool things that you're doing, and I hope that we get to connect more too. So thanks.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, it has.
Thank you.
Awesome. Denise Knight. Wow, I think that's an encore applause right there. We're gonna have to bring her back up for another song or something. I think she just gave me a really nasty look. But until then, let's bring Gina back up on stage. Gina, are you doing a new one?
No, an old one.
An old one, but a good one?
Yep.
All right.
Who's to say I'm sitting nicely with sanity? Sometimes I just really want to throw out reality. And I try to learn as much as I can, but I'm still left with who I am. And every time fear comes here knocking, I have to let her in, 'cause I don't want her to keep walking. I say, come in, sit down, why are you here again? She looks up and grins, says, alright, this time you win. Now anger is dressed in blue and headed out, and I'm still here with you and a little worn out, and confidence is hiding in the corner, and longings in green, and I am somewhere in between. And I know my country's in quite a fix. Plays with the world like it's a giant game of pick-up sticks, and someday we may all come crashing down, and then what will we see when we look around? Now that anger is dressed in blue and headed out, and I'm still here with you and a little worn out, and confidence is in yellow and hiding in the corner, and longings in green, and I am somewhere in between, in between. And I finally learned how to love who I want to. I've torn down the fences of the things people said I should do, 'cause truth came walking in. She was stunning, she brought laughter, and he was just the right thing. It's hard to get anything done, it's hard to know where to start from, and I think we might have made a really good team, but you had all the friends that you needed. Now anger is dressed in blue and headed out, and I'm still here with you and still a little worn out. Confidence is in yellow and hiding in the corner, and longings in green, and I am somewhere in between, 'cause anger is dressed in blue and I'm still here with you, and confidence is hidden in the
corner and longings, green and longing, and I am in between. Thanks.
February 15th, 2014. And a Frenchman lined himself up on a track very close to the Russian border with his pole, and he started running down the path, staring at another pole mounted horizontally at a height higher than any human had ever cleared before. And as he stuck his pole in that pit, and time slowed down as that pole seemed to just take control and lift him and throw him over the other pole. And he rained down onto the mat, and everybody went silent. And he looked. He looked up, and the pole was still there. It never fell. 6.16 meters. Over 20 feet in the air. And that man cleared it. Not only did he clear a height of over 20 feet, but he broke a record that had been held for 20 years by a man named Sergei Bubka, pole vaulting world champion, who broke a world record and then continued to break his own world records until he was done pole vaulting, and then held that record for 20 years. This was important to the folks in Tonkahogen, because that story of Sergei Bubka had been told. It had been told by a construction worker who was in town working on the roads and helping build a bridge over one of the roads. And as he stood there and he looked up, and the faded paint on the concrete that was falling apart on the bottom of the bridge said 14 feet 6 inches. And he looked at that. And then he looked at the pipes in his truck. And he looked at the rebar. And he turned to one of the other construction workers that was standing there with the sign that said slow on one side and stop on the other. He said, "You know, there's a guy named Sergei Bubka who would look at that bridge, and he would look at those poles on that truck, and he would just laugh." The man with the sign wasn't exactly sure why this was funny, but the other construction worker decided to go on and continue telling the story. And this is how construction on one of the main roads in Tonkahogen was delayed for 3 days, as the construction worker gathered all of his construction crew, and he gathered local Tonkahogens to see if anybody there could pole vault the bridge over the road. And of course, people came out by the dozens to try to pole vault the bridge. And they didn't care if construction was delayed. They closed off the whole road. And they jackhammered a hole in the road so that they could stick their poles in there. And there were folks that had pole vault poles from when they were in high school. There were folks that knew other folks from towns nearby, that knew track and field coaches, and they all got together. And there was that one guy who decided he was going to do his own thing on the construction crew, and he made his own pole vault pole out of the rebar. It didn't work real well. Once that pole started to lift him off the ground, and he just hung there. He hung in suspension, just a foot and a half off the ground, as that rebar decided it was not going to work. And it just came back down. And he put a real good bend in it, and he thought, I was so close. So close. But you could hear sneakers, old track shoes, steel-toed work boots pounding down the road as they planted their poles and tried to make their way over the bridge. They'd even trucked in this whole dump truck full of sawdust, because one of the Tonkahogan town members said, "You know, that's the way we used to do it. We didn't have those big fancy mats. We just had big piles of sawdust. That's what we did when we pole vaulted." So that's what they did, because they were construction workers, and folks from Tonkahogan can't be outdone. So they dumped big piles of sawdust right in the middle of the bridge, and one after the other after the other. And the man on the construction crew that started this whole event came closest. And as he soared through the air, they could hear him cry, "Sergey!" And he hit the side of the bridge. And at that point, they decided it was probably a good idea to put another pile of sawdust under the bridge. Most people hadn't made it up that high, but when he hit the side of the bridge, his next shout was not repeatable. But he hit the ground, and he rolled, and he picked up his pole, and with his head hung, he walked back to the end of the spray-painted track. For 3 days this went on, attempt after attempt after attempt. One young woman showed up, had her father's pole vault pole, large graphite and fiberglass metal pole with faded blue rings painted on the end, and the end that stuck in the ground was all chewed up from all of the use it had gotten. But she couldn't do it. She couldn't make that 14-foot, 6-inch jump. And as she came back scratching her head, she was perplexed because she had cleared 14 feet 6 inches just the year before. And she's describing this to the construction worker, who then laughed and said, That's the bottom of the bridge. That's where the clearance of the bottom of the bridge is. You still have quite a few feet above that." "Oh, right," she said. That night, they were all sharing their stories, and all sitting there with beers and mugs and arms around each other and reveling in each other's failure and loving it and talking about what an incredible success it was because it brought all these people together. It's not often that a construction crew comes into a town and makes such a connection. And they all laughed and they were enjoying themselves, and as often happens in a bar when folks are having a really good time, more and more and more alcohol gets drunk until somebody gets into a fight. And that night it was a couple, and the fight ended when the whole bar went silent, when the wife yelled, "Why don't you take your pole vault pole and pole vault off of the bridge?" He also walked away with his head hung low, and some of the construction workers thought maybe we should just, get back to work. So the next day, they went out, and they resumed work on the road, resumed work on the bridge. But it was late that night, after they started working again, and the construction worker that started the whole thing walked back out. And he stood on the bridge and he looked down, and he could still see that hole that they had jackhammered into the pavement. And he thought about his family and how far away they were, and how he wanted to call home like he did every day, and like he had. But he wanted to call home and tell them about what they were doing. But he felt bad, because he was supposed to be working, and he was supposed to be getting the job done so he could get home. And with his elbows leaning on the railing of the bridge and looking down at that hole, he heard a sound. A sound he thought he recognized, but didn't. Coming from the other side of the bridge. So he walked over after hearing it a second time. There's a group of young men quite a distance down from the bridge. And he heard one of them say, "Hey, hey, hey, there's somebody up there." So the group slowly walked toward the bridge. One of the young men stepped out with his hands obviously hiding something behind his back. He said, "Hey, are you all right up there?" The construction worker said, "Yeah, I'm fine." He said, "Oh, good." And all the other guys started laughing. And out from behind his back, he held up this, what looked like a jumble of rope. And he said, Aren't you the guy that started the pole vault competition?" He said, "Yeah, I am." He said, "Come down here. We've got another contest we want you to join us in." And as he made his way down off the bridge, he met this group of young men, and what looked like a jumbled up mess of rope was actually a 3-person slingshot, all made out of these this surgical tubing, this really strong elastic surgical tubing, and one man would hold one handle and one man would hold the other handle, and the other guy would take a water balloon and put it in the little pouch that they had fastened in the middle, and he would walk back, which seemed like 10 feet. And then there were guys standing on the sides, licking their fingers and closing an eye, holding them up to test the wind, measuring the distance, one of them putting his thumbs together with his 4 fingers extended, looking like a director of a movie trying to find the best scene. Once they thought they had it all lined up, there was another 2 guys way down. They had these handkerchiefs tied to these drumsticks, and they would wave them and give signals to let them know that it was safe to go, and boom, they'd let the balloon go, and bam, hit the side of the bridge and splatter. So the construction worker said, "I'm in. I'll meet you guys here tomorrow night." They said, "Well, no, we're just lining them up tonight." And he said, "Nope. I'm going to meet you guys down here tomorrow night, same time. I'll bring the balloons and my own crew, and we'll have a contest." So the next day he gathered up his construction worker buddies and he said, "Okay, we're going to do this. We're going to enter their Olympics. They tried ours, now we're going to do theirs." So he got his crew together and they showed up that night, and he didn't have time to fasten his own slingshot, but he had 2 cases of those little plastic Hugs drinks with the foil top that he had bought, cases and cases of them for his construction crew. So he thought a couple of cases could be used for this, and they were uniform, they all weighed the same, they were all the same shape, and you need consistent uniform equipment when engaging in Olympic competition. And he had that really awesome construction worker's spray paint can mounted on the end of the stick, and he walked off with his wheel measuring device, walked off so many feet and would spray a line, then he'd walk off so many feet and spray a line, walk off so many feet and spray a line. He did this for what seemed like the length of a football field. And they started at the closest line. Each group measured, took a shot, and delivered right in the pavement of the bridge. They moved back to the next line. Each group got 1 shot. The rules were simple. Your group has to hit the cement of the bridge between the 2 lines that were painted on the side of the bridge. And you would get 2 attempts at each line. And for a while they went, each only needing 1 attempt, until they got 50 yards away. And they were launching these Hugs barrels and smashing them on the side of this bridge. Green, yellow, red, blue, purple, orange juice dripping off the side of the bridge, creating huge puddles. Massive piles of plastic barrels laying in the road. And they must have done this until sunup. And what the people, as they woke up and made their way out into town, what they must have thought. To see these two groups from two totally different places standing almost 100 yards from the bridge with plastic barrels and flipped over cardboard boxes and styrofoam cups from the coffee run they'd made in the middle of the night, strewn all over the place. That one girl who was convinced she was going to pole vault the bridge. She was out for a morning jog and was looking at this, and she stood just outside of the construction zone on that little grass hill that led up to the bridge. And she spotted one of those little Hugs barrels that never exploded. It was just launched up onto the top of the bridge. And when you're drinking something like that, you don't call it by the flavor it is. You just call it by the color. So if you're going to order something like that, you just order a blue one. But this was a red one, and the red ones were her favorite. She picked it up, held it at about eye level, looked at her index finger, and poked it directly through the foil in the top of the jug. And she chugged it. And she walked to the edge of the bridge and held it high in the air to salute the two crews that were launching these barrels at the bridge. And they all waved. And she dropped the barrel, raised her arms in a big V, and she sang, "This is my home. This is my only home. This is the only sacred ground that I have ever known. And should I stray in the dark night alone, rock me, goddess, in the gentle arms of Eden. Rock me, goddess, in the gentle arms of Eden." And there it is. You have made it to the end of another exciting episode of On the Porch Radio Hour. And I want to thank Denise Knight for bringing in her equipment and setting up in our kitchen and recording some incredible music. Thanks for making that part of our night. I really appreciate that and appreciate you being here. Thanks for being a friend to us, too. And I want to thank everybody that showed up to the farm to listen to the show. Yeah. I never wanted to be that guy, but it really is people like you that make stuff like this possible. So thanks for showing up and supporting us. And thanks everybody on Concert Window for listening and supporting us. Thanks for being here. I want to thank everybody that's listening to our show on the website, www.ontheporch.weebly.com. Just click on the Watch and Listen tab, and we've got all of our shows archived right there. You're in for it. We're going to have a great show next week and every week after. And until then, peace to your journey.
On the Porch is a production of the Wooden Apple Farmstead with host and writer Matthew Wood. Our musical director and sound technician is Gina Holsapple. Our stage manager is Ray Monet. This week's special guest is Denise Knight. Find information about past shows, being on the porch, and much more online at ontheporch.weebly.com.